If you see this title is what Bryson says about LucidLink. We're their digital duct tape. And he's got so many intriguing uses that he's implemented LucidLink that I asked my colleague Dave Leopold, who's been in the industry for 20 years plus, because I want him to hear cold what Bryson is doing with our stuff, because it's just so amazing. So for those of you who don't know Bryson, here he is. And I'm going to start with the first question. Bryson, when did you come to LucidLink and how did you find out about us?
Let's see. I guess I was made aware of LucidLink long before we trusted you. And that's the way I'll say that. Okay. We're very conservative in technology. Our customers are 24/7, 365, and we don't like to do support. So we hate to do support. So anything that's going to create a support nightmare, we won't use. And so what happened was that I'd seen it. We'd seen the demos, and we had tried. This is my co-founder I keep referring to, Damian Corbell over here. We've tried to do this, what LucidLink does, the hard way, every way you can. So we've been working in the cloud. Myself, I've been working in AWS for about 12 years. And so we've tried all the other solutions, every hack you can do to access object storage as a file system. And none of them were reliable enough to really work or gave us the performance we needed. So ironically, we knew about you for a while. And what happened was that, Richie Murray was involved, and that was a vote of confidence. And, this is a technology solution, but this industry is about people. And then Chesapeake did an event with Iconic, and we were like, okay, the people on that presentation, it works. So we didn't want to be first. So and then we contacted you guys and got a demo. And actually, we made one of our junior engineers install it the first time, just to make sure that it wasn't a nightmare. Damien and the development team or DevOps guys, they can install anything and make it work. But we literally gave it to a girl who's transitioning out of being a project manager. She deployed it in her own machine, and it worked, and we were off and running.
That's great to hear. So yeah. So I think with this session we're going to run out of time, so I'm going to keep it moving here. So Bryson, you've done so many cool things with LucidLink. I certainly want to touch on the uses that you have, but you have so many good stats on ROI of what you've achieved with yourself and your customers. So maybe share with us a story that you have and some stats.
So we have a product that is, I think that's working. We have a product that is like a marketing MAM that lives in the cloud, and it was deployed. We hadn't implemented S3 object direct storage to it yet. So we were running it on EBS. We had a customer that got pretty big. So we converted them to LucidLink in AWS, not as a client running it on the servers, which has been our main use for you guys currently. And using that behind our servers, the customer was able to drop their Amazon bill, even adding your costs in, by about $900 a month. So instantly, customer loved us, and that was an afternoon of work, probably planning and deploying it. So
okay, so I just want to reiterate. So with LucidLink, his customer paid for LucidLink and then saved $900 a month with our solution. That's amazing. So I know we've talked about a couple things, and you are doing something fairly innovative in the photography realm, because in LucidLink, you can use us just like a file system for anything. We're great with storing, large files and getting them accessible from anywhere in the world. But you've got some other really cool use cases, and I'd love for you to touch on some of those.
And so one of the things about is that the photography dams are very interesting. A lot of people, they've always been a separate silo. And so what will happen is, especially in like a video production workflow, you've probably seen this a lot, is that people will build out a beautiful video workflow, and then they'll have a team doing marketing, and all their photos and graphics are in a completely separate bucket and workflow. I don't know if you see that a lot, and they'll be using a commercial. Sorry, a little bit worried about overloading. I'm loud. A little bit worried about what happens is that people end up with these silos, and we're always trying to get rid of storage silos. So what we've been starting to do is, as the photo teams transition away from their old kind of maybe their original cloud solution or a on-premise solution, moving them into secretly. They use their own front end because everything is using object storage in the background. You can put LucidLink behind that server, connect the MAM server for the video workflow, and pull all the photos into the video archive workflow. So photos are hidden in the video MAM so that the video person, who's, hate to say it, typically better at preserving their data and controlling it, they're actually secretly managing the media for the photos. Users don't know on the photo side, but the photos are actually going through the video workflow. So yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna let Dave chime in here, but he's like going like this because again, Dave Leopold, I purposely didn't let him talk to Bryson about their technology so he could be surprised at what's happening, and he just went wow silently. So take it away, Dave.
I think that's really amazing. I love the idea of just sort of doing this in the background, not even really alerting your users to what's going on, because it's almost making use of the energy expended. It's the stuff that would have evaporated anyway, and so you're harnessing that and getting those efforts from your users.
Yeah, we make a lot of money doing migrations for people, and we hate doing it, and people hate paying for it. So if we can prevent a migration in the future, but that's the kind of the key thing when we started talking about the digital duct tape thing, is server applications using LucidLink on servers. So yes, then of course you could share something to a human if you want to, but the idea between moving an application into the cloud that's not a cloud native application, we're talking, Damien and I, you guys have saved us 1 to 3 months on dev projects just because we don't have to implement the object APIs. We could just be like, oh, no, it's fine. It acts like a file system. That was an eye opener. And that helps people with legacy applications move them to the cloud way faster than they could. And you from your past, you know what a science project that can be when you've got like a 5-year-old application that was not cloud native and you got to put it up quick. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I'm curious then, where do you see the boundaries as you try and develop these things, as you have an idea? At what point do you say this solution is not working and I need to look for something else? Or how do you look at something and say, I see. So one of the things that I find so exciting about LucidLink is every single day we're seeing new applications, new ways to use it. What is there sort of a moment that you see when you're trying to solve a problem where you say, okay, I can take some solution that was not intended for this, find an off-label use and integrate it into a solution?
Yeah, we really look at reliability. Obviously, at some point, applications would need to be made. Maybe they might need to be native, right? And make them and add that in. But for us, if we test, you allow us to test really quickly. That was the duct tape quote, is that you can put something in AWS and test an application in an afternoon and know if it's going to work or not, right? So there's zero dev to translate that. I think that the transition point is when you, and this is very funny talking in media and entertainment, when you need to hide the media from people and not allow them to have a file system anymore, that's when you might, move more to more like a big iron built out solution. But then the nimbleness, the lightweight of doing this, when you're trying to, especially if you're in a deployment situation, it's just so useful. And I really hope people will start to think like that. Remote editorial and all the uses that everyone thinks about is great, but taking an app that may be really old that you don't want to get rid of and extending its life by moving it into the cloud or just making it more reliable, oh man, it's amazing. And we did that. So a major publisher in New York, to give you another quick case study, they were moving their CatDV MAM into the cloud. And as they were doing it, they were designing this workflow. They weren't aware of LucidLink. And so we were going to use you guys in the background anyway on the servers. Another thing, a quick point to mention out, we can pull the thread later, but is that also tiering. LucidLink allows you to still use like Glacier and all these other solutions, but you can use that. And if you have orchestration, you can then tier into LucidLink. So for us, LucidLink is a tier 1 in our thinking, right? Which most people probably wouldn't think that way. So you got this virtual tier 1 and then your other tiers behind it. So this customer we were going to do that, not telling them what was going to be in the background because they don't want to know how the sausage is made. And we realized their editors were all going to go to this web UI and download project media. And then there, so we described it to them. They were super skeptical. We asked them with our reseller, T2 was the reseller at the time. We asked T2 to help them deploy it and test it. And then they were like, this is great. What was funny is that our deployment didn't change. They just lit up clients. So they were suddenly accessing this same tier one we were. And so that's an example of just like, we got that for free. I hope they don't watch this because they'll know how easy it was.
That's great. And, you know, I really do love this idea of digital duct tape too, because if you can talk a little bit about just sort of your process for putting these workflows together, what I love is as digital duct tape, you can bring it into the process at the beginning, build it around LucidLink, or it could be in the middle, or you could say, we have everything built and it's still not working. What do we need? And bring LucidLink in. Is there, can you walk through that a little bit?
Absolutely. Especially in the asset management space where everything is, when you're doing orchestration, sometimes you need everything controlled by API, of course, and you're going to do that. And that's the best method to do. But like you said, there's certain times when things just fit with a file system. You know, where you know, I got a lot of gray hair. And so for me, I'm comfortable with it sometimes. It's also really helpful if you have a user who is not comfortable with that, managing that orchestration, right? Or I laugh when I say this because I try to get people to not do this, but sometimes a human's going to want to touch something in the middle of it. So if everything's abstracted in the cloud and happening API to API, that's great. But at no point can like Bob or whatever go grab that file and touch it, right? So for better or worse, LucidLink also allows you to have a touch point in there. So we're hiding stuff, but then we can say, hey, Bob, by the way, if you get in a bind, you could go here and look and see. And there's a level of comfortability. So many people haven't been able to use the cloud because it's not accessible to them. You know, I'm lucky to have a DevOps team, amazing developers. My co-founder's an amazing technologist. So I can access those people. If you're in a smaller media company, you can't. And so you don't want to take the 8 meetings with IT to get there. And so that's a big thing for us, is to be able to demystify some of these workflows and insert a human when they need to.
And if I can add, when we were, creating LucidLink, we're easy to use, we're easy to install. It fits seamlessly into people's workflow because who doesn't know how to access a drive on their file system, right? So that's what makes it so darn easy. But I think it's that accessibility and that immediacy that we see where people don't even know we're using it. Like Adobe will say, Dave Helmley from Adobe, he says, set it and forget it. Because people don't even know that we're using that. And we've been able to do this, and you've been able to do these so many use cases. And I want to say one other solution that we have, a bundle package. We have a bundle package. For example, if you have a team that don't have developers, which you don't need with LucidLink, but just aren't technically savvy, nor do they want to touch it, they can easily sign up with our bundled solution. We have a bundled solution with IBM that's going to give them high performance power globally. And all they have to do is sign up with LucidLink. Everything is in one package, and you don't have to deal with doing your S3 buckets. So we simplified it for those that aren't technical.
Absolutely. And I should mention, you mentioned the high performance thing. If you have as much gray hair as we do, we want to say to you that like object storage is fast. Like you need to do some testing because it will blow your mind. And the other point I wanted to make before we go is that this idea that, so you guys focus on the simplicity and the file system, which is great. But the thing is that it can act like a little drive on your desktop, but you have the resiliency and the power and the stability of the cloud platforms. And I always joke when people are like, oh, I don't trust the cloud. You're like, oh, really? Do you trust like Pete in IT? I think Pete got high at lunch. I don't trust Pete, but I trust the people at these companies. IBM, I can trust. So that performance, that resiliency, you can access on that. And then, like you said, just, get into that. Because the last point I want to make is that we think that we've all been archiving. Everyone thinks they've been archiving to the cloud. I get so frustrated when I talk to resellers, I talk to customers, and they talk about cloud, and they just say cloud. And I know they mean a cloud archive. But when your media is in the cloud, you can access automation and scale that you've never dreamed of. You can instantly access compute power that you've never dreamed of. And so what you're really doing, the reason we're using it on the back of these servers is because what we're actually getting from that is when someone calls me which recently happened, and says, I have to transcode 5,000 hours of content. How fast can you do it? I can tell them an hour, maybe 3. And that's something I can't do in the building. And that's the secret sauce at the end. That's the secret at the M. Night Shyamalan ending, is that you've archived it. Now you can do amazing things. The next 2 to 5 years, you're going to see unbelievable scaled solutions. And unless you have DevOps, you're probably going to need LucidLink.
I love that. And what we say about LucidLink, or what I say, is like, we give you your foothold in the cloud without sending a whole petabytes of data to us. You can get your foothold, which is your gateway to digital transformation. So if you're nervous about the cloud, oh my gosh, try a project, because our customers don't stop using LucidLink. They just generally grow. And that, again, gets you into your digital transformation process. Dave, do you have any final words?
The last part is, yes, getting into the cloud, digital transformation, but also remote collaboration on a level that no one has ever had before. And we're enabling people to source talent from around the globe. It is breaking down all the barriers of where you are. And really what we're doing is, on top of all the things that come with the power of the cloud that Bryson was just talking about, we're also making location and distance irrelevant in the equation. It's just not even talked about. So we're making all of this accessible wherever you are, harnessing the power of the cloud. Some pretty great minds too, coming up with some workflows and how to use it. And I think we're all just really excited to see what comes next.
Okay, so we have Bryson here and we have Dave. Do we have any questions from the audience? Any questions? Okay, you guys.
All my hecklers had to leave, so yeah. I had those guys lined up.
These hecklers did leave. Well, thanks for coming. Thank you so much, Bryson. We really appreciate it. Yeah.